Good morning. Welcome to the dreary, cold, disgusting Jurassic Park. I'm Sarah. I'm the Real Simple Mama. I wanted to say hello to everybody, and I'm going to do a video teaching you about these are all of the things that I do with my new chickens when I bring some new ones into an existing flock. Good morning. We're going to walk around and look at everybody eating treats, looking at the things that I've been doing. I'm not going to be able to demo most of these things for you, but just know that a lot of these suggestions, of course, you can pick and choose what works for you and for your flock. It may not be applicable to you, but that's okay. And the other thing is, if you want more details on things like talking about clipping wings, or if you need to clip a chicken's nails, you can always look here on my channel. I have hundreds of videos that are chicken related. So if you want more details, you can either pause here, or on some of them, I'll have the little thumbnails up at the top. You can click and go get more details to your heart's content. So I've been a chicken tender for almost 5 years, and I've of course had to add in new chickens, gosh, probably 4 or 5 times throughout that time. Now I have content also as far as, should I always have all of my chickens the same age? Should they all be the same breed? Is it better to kind of have different ages mixed in? I personally choose to have different ages, and that, plus every once in a while we lose a chicken to one reason or another. So I've got some chickens that are being integrated right now. Now, if you want to see like how I integrate them, as far as like we take 2 weeks to quarantine them away from everybody and all that stuff, I do have a whole playlist about chicken behavior and integration and quarantining and stuff. But this is a checklist of, this is just when I get new chickens onto my property, these are all of the little things that I do. Again, pick and choose what works for you. The first is that when I'm handling the chickens, right, because you have to handle them to catch them from place A to bring them over here, I do a medical check on my chickens. That's one of the most popular videos of mine, showing how I do a once over of chicken from beak to tail and to their little toes, to look for anything externally, any signs that they may be dealing with either lice or mites, or maybe a kind of deficiency, bumblefoot, which is basically a staph infection on their foot. You're looking also just to see if they have any like scars or old wounds, or okay, when I got this chicken, she had a scratch on her comb, and that way you can kind of just make note of all of those things. So definitely do a medical check on them. I like to do medical checks either when I'm, either when I'm handling my chickens, like I said, when you're bringing them onto your property and you're carrying them over, or at night when they're a lot sleepier, and a lot of times they'll be a lot more complacent. So do a medical check. The next thing is I check and see if they are done molting. If they are fully feathered, then I do clip a wing. I personally choose to just clip one. You can do it however works for you, but that's to help keep my chickens in. I do also advocate having bird netting in your run. I have videos on that as well, but I will do a wing clip, and then I will also check their nails. You normally don't have to cut chickens' nails, because if you're a chicken tender who's out with your birds, they're constantly digging around in the dirt and stuff, right? So just like a beaver's teeth or some other instances, it should wear down on its own, so to where the nails aren't too long. But if you notice a chicken is walking funny, like the toe is kind of like curved to the side because their nail is too long, that's a great chance to do that too. These last 4 chickens that I've just integrated in the last month, to be honest, came from a neglect situation. So their nails, because they didn't have enough space to go roam and dig around, I did have to cut a couple of their nails. So the next thing, like I said, is clip wings and nails if necessary. I personally choose to medicate chickens when they come onto my property, just as an extra protective measure, without getting too much into like if you should vaccinate or not or anything like that. There are 2 medications that I'll give my chickens. One is Denagard, which is not expensive. It is a medication that helps with respiratory illness. What I like about it is that it's a liquid. You put it in the chicken's water. You clean their water and keep adding it for between 3 to 5 days. And that's it. You're not having to grab chickens. You're not having to inject them. It's a water additive. But Denagard, you can use it. It has one dosage that is for preventative. So like, I don't know if my chickens are sick or not. I don't notice that they have any symptoms. I'm just doing it again because I'm adding new birds. I need to protect the birds I've already got. But of course, if your chickens are sneezy, if they sound raspy, then there is a stronger dosage you can give them, which is for actually treating respiratory illness. So Denagard is one thing that I do, and I will do usually just the 3-day treatment. Again, it's in their water. It's super easy. The other medication that I choose to do is Ivermax, which is a type of ivermectin, and that is a deworming medication that I use topically, so you have to use a little, like a little syringe or a little dropper, but you put it on the back of their neck, where basically where it's hard for them to reach. It absorbs in through the skin. It's called a pour on because it's used for larger animals like cattle, and you would measure it out and you would pour it on their skin. It would absorb into the animal's skin, get into their bloodstream, and kill if they have any kinds of worms and parasites. So those are the two things that I choose to do when I bring new chickens in. For my existing flock, I tend to do Denagard and Ivermax about twice a year, just as a preventative, as a just in case. I did deal with worms once in my flock. The Ivermax did kill it, but you have to do it. You do the dosage twice. So if you don't already have the chicken tenders journal, I'll put out here just to keep track of your medications, to keep track of when I did this and when I added them and who lays which color eggs and all of those things. I use the chicken tenders journal as just the one-stop place for all of my chicken data, keeping all of those medical notes, things like that. You can look down in the video notes in the description, and there's the link there if you would like to purchase it. So far, like I've said, we do deworming, we do Denagard, and I clip wings and nails. The other things that I want to do are not medical necessarily when I'm integrating new chickens, but I want to do things to get them used to me and to gently let them get used to everybody else. So I did do a few weeks as normal with the new chickens quarantined on the other end of my property, where if they had any kind of illness, parasite, whatever, it couldn't spread to my existing girls, right? To be honest, my number one job is to defend the hens that I already have, because they are my responsibility too. So making sure that my existing chickens are not going to get any kind of illness or worms or anything like that. But then I also take time to integrate them slowly. So as you can see, there are two girls who are isolated in my additive coop. They can hear, see everybody else. I have food and treats on either side so that everybody basically has their heads right next to each other as they're enjoying snacks. Those girls, I need to add more rocks. As you can see, there's some gaps under that coop now as it's settled. I need to protect them from predators. Make sure that you are using hardware cloth, that you have the predator locks that are going to be next to impossible for a raccoon or possum to get into. But I also want them to be able to hear and see each other so that they can slowly get used to each other, as opposed to you bring a new chicken onto your property and just drop them in with everybody else and say good luck like the first day of school. I also want the chickens getting used to me. So if you've seen the recent, like the do as I say, not as I do integration video, the two girls that are in there, which they're a black Australorp and we don't know. It may be a Marin, it may be, we don't know what the other one is. I thought she was a Lavender Orpington, but you guys are right in correcting me. I think you're right and I'm wrong. But I had them eating out of my hand. They're still very skittish. They're still very spooked. They were bullied and neglected for a while before I got them, but I want them getting used to me. So when I do my call, tick, 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 that is the sign that, that I am bringing good things. I know that water bucket's overflowing. We're testing a new drip system. So I want them getting used to each other slowly, and I want them getting used to me slowly, especially if, depending on where you've gotten your chickens from, if they are from a place where they didn't get a lot of personal attention, they weren't cuddled and snuggled a lot, they weren't picked up a lot, they didn't have a ton of human interaction. That's something that is really important to me. I have this small backyard flock. I have kids. So we want to be out here with them on a regular basis. Carmen jumps on my back and sits in my lap and stuff like that. And that's what we want. So that's going to be a slow process. It's going to take time and effort on your part to slowly start showing them, like, you don't need to be afraid of me. I bring good things. I would never harm you. So just being out with them, talking with them, whatever, if you use a usual call, like you're the rooster and you always talk to them the same way, start getting the new girls used to it. Tick, 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 tick. See, Gracie's like, you got something? You got something? Girl, you already had so many treats this morning. It's just ridiculous. Tick, 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 tick. But you want everybody to kind of perk their head up and look over at me, right, Gracie? Sweet darling. Hello, honey. Tick, 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 tick. See, even the new girls, they kind of had their head up for a second. Coming on over? What's up? So those are a whole bunch of ideas for when you're getting new chickens, just some different boxes that you can check. Lastly, this is up to you, But I choose to have multiple food and water stations. Chickens have to get used to the types of waterers that you have, for example. You know, are they having to peck something now? Do they have to stick their head in a PVC pipe? Like, is it just a big open trough? Like, getting them used to the waterers and also to the food. If you've had dogs or cats or, you know, any other kind of animal, it is better if you can slowly transition over to food, which is why, I don't know if you can tell, I've got 2 types of food over there. We're just gradually transitioning. Honestly, you can do the transition in like 3 days. We're not talking like a 2-week process or anything, but keep that in mind. Also, you don't want anybody playing like King of the Rock or King of the Waterer and keeping everybody else away from it. So I suggest multiple food and water stations, and then be watching the new guys and making sure that they're eating the new food. You know, sometimes chickens are afraid of a new food, like all kinds of silliness, and making sure that they understand how to get water from the new waterers. So multiple stations and transitioning the food as well. I know there's been some noise. I know I'm dealing with a cold. So forgive me sounding like Foghorn Leghorn, right girls? Chick, 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 chicks. But these who have been bullied, just as a final side note, because they're still missing a lot of feathers, I am getting in some little sweaters for them so that they don't get cold and so that those pin feathers are protected. I'll be doing a video about that before long. But see how Lacey, and I think her name's going to be Winnie, I haven't decided yet, my lavender or my gray girl that's right over there, their heads are right next to each other, but nobody can get at each other, nobody can hurt each other or pull feathers or do anything like that. But it's just a slow, gentle way, and they're making their little purring noises. So that's one of the things that I like. I make sure I sit and watch and make sure everybody's eating and drinking, that they all know how to use the new waterers. I'll be doing a video before too long. We're going to have to do a new water system because these buckets with the little cups they're driving me nuts. So let me know down in the comments, like how often, or like what is your rule for integrating new chickens? How often do you integrate new ones? And what are some of the things that you do? I would never add just one chicken to a flock. Always try to make the odds as even as possible. And like I said, take your time bringing them in. We don't want anybody to get bullied and bloodied and live a life of fear, right? We want them to have a really good life. So as Carmen destroys that setup that I have right there, I'm going to continue to predator proof this, but there'll be more videos coming out as we get into the end of 2022. As always, here's my email address. I do respond to YouTube comments and to emails within 24 hours. So I hope that this was useful in adding new chickens. Pick and choose what works for you and your backyard flock, and we'll see you again soon.